Hello and welcome. Today we're going to dive into a really personal and, I think, incredibly honest look at spirituality. It's about trying to find a way to engage with the big questions that gets beyond the simple for or against, the simple belief versus disbelief.
So our guide for this whole exploration is actually a letter, a really profound letter from a son to his father. The dad had sent his son a book, hoping it would create a spark, a connection over faith. But the son's response, it wasn't a rejection. It was this really careful, really heartfelt explanation of his own very different path.
And that's the thing, right? This very personal moment between a father and son opens up this huge, universal question that so many of us wrestle with. In a world that often feels split between rigid religious rules on one side and a kind of flat, what you see is what you get worldview on the other, is there another way? Let's take a look.
At the heart of this story, you've really got two very sincere but fundamentally different ways of approaching the great mysteries of our existence. Both of them start from the exact same place, that feeling of awe and wonder. But as we'll see, they end up in very different places.
The book that kicked this whole thing off was written by Charles Murray. Now, for most of his life, he described himself as a happy agnostic. But then, late in his 60s, something shifted. He was suddenly hit with this realization that science, as amazing as it is, just can't answer everything. Like, what is consciousness? Or why is there something instead of nothing?
And here's where we see that fork in the road. Faced with this deep, profound mystery, Murray goes looking for a solid, reliable answer. He wants a conclusion. But the author of the letter, the son, well, his search is different. He's not trying to solve the mystery. He's trying to live more deeply inside of it.
And this old Zen saying just nails the central critique here. The idea is that religions, philosophies, all these systems of belief, they're like a finger pointing at something vast and real, the moon. But the danger, the trap, is when we get so obsessed with the finger, arguing about it, defending it, that we forget to actually look at the moon. So let's follow that first path for a minute, the one that's searching for a final answer. We're going to see how a really open-minded philosophical journey can sometimes narrow down into a defense of just one particular tradition. So Murray's investigation leads him to this conclusion. Because modern science and our shared ideas about morality really blossomed in Christian Europe, then Christianity must have some kind of unique claim on the ultimate truth of the universe. He's essentially linking the flourishing of human reason directly and exclusively to one faith.
But the counter-argument here is that this search, it's a human thing. It's universal. Rational thought wasn't just happening in Europe, it was thriving in China, in the Islamic world, in ancient Egypt. And those core moral ideas like compassion and justice, they're at the heart of every single major world tradition. So the point is, these aren't the property of one religion, they're expressions of our shared human spirit.
And this leads us right into one of the deepest, most mind-bending questions of all, where science and spirituality really meet. What is consciousness? And where in the world does it come from?
So, are our brains basically factories? Little biological machines that produce consciousness through chemical reactions? That's the standard materialist view. Or is the brain more like a filter or maybe a radio receiver? This other view suggests something way more radical, that consciousness isn't made by us, it's a fundamental part of the universe, and our brains just tune into it.
This filter model actually lines up with a lot of ancient wisdom. Hermetic philosophy, for instance, has this term the all, which describes a single underlying conscious reality. It's not some being that created the universe, it is the consciousness of the universe. We're not separate from it, we are little pieces of it experiencing itself. Okay, so if you have these two totally different ways of seeing the world, how does that change how you read the powerful stories at the heart of religion? Let's take one of the biggest ones in the Western world, the resurrection. So one way to see it is as literal history. A physical body came back to life in first century Judea, and you have to believe that fact to be saved. The other way, though, is to see it as a profound symbolic truth. It's this powerful myth about an eternal process, the death of the small, separate self, the ego, and the awakening to a deeper, universal consciousness that can't die.
This quote just captures that critique so perfectly. It's arguing that when you take these incredibly deep, symbolic stories and you strip them down to a simple yes or no belief test, you're missing the whole point. You're turning a beautiful map for spiritual transformation into a rigid set of rules.
And all of this brings us right to the very core of the discussion, a really crucial difference between two totally different ways of understanding what faith even means.
So, what is faith? Is it a matter of assent? Just agreeing in your head that a list of historical facts and doctrines are true? Or is faith about participation, an active, direct, felt experience of living inside life's mystery and feeling connected to the whole thing? That's really the choice being laid out here.
And this faith of participation, as it's described in the letter, it's built on these kinds of ideas. The idea that the universe is one living, conscious thing. That love isn't just an emotion, it's the fundamental force of the cosmos, pulling everything together. That myths aren't history books, they're maps for the soul. And that your own direct experience is a real way of knowing what's true.
Wow. This one line just beautifully sums up the two whole perspectives. Is truth some static thing that was figured out in the past and handed down to us? Or is it a living, breathing process that is still unfolding, right here, right now, in us and all around us?
And in the end, that's what the letter is really about. It's not trying to win an argument or prove the dad's faith is wrong. It's really a plea for mutual respect. It's about honoring the honesty of each other's search, even if you're heading in different directions. It's about sharing in the sheer wonder of it all.
And so that's the question we're left with to think about. In this whole search for meaning, what if the greatest act of faith isn't having all the answers locked down? What if it's having the courage to live with the questions and to just remain open to the mystery?